In this video, we talk more about retail arbitrage with the Cocoa Nomad Alondo Brewington. If you appreciate our videos, please like, subscribe, and share. We need this to help grow our channel. Thank you. Okay, so now we just want to talk about arbitrage for a second. So give us your thoughts and ideas and tell us how you did it and how others can do it too.
Okay, so basically what I was doing, I explained with the toys, going in every day and shipping that stuff. I am doing what is called retail arbitrage. Mm-hmm. So that is, I'm buying items in one retail outlet in one location and then shipping it in because people are going to be buying that somewhere else. So those pencil boxes, they weren't selling in Charleston, South Carolina where I bought them, mm-hmm. or in Goldsboro, North Carolina. But somebody in California might want those, or in Minnesota, so they're going to order that. So the arbitrage I'm taking advantage of is the fact that that particular product may be out in a location. I know people who've done this with certain categories of products, so that they buy up all the pumpkin spice at the end of the season, mm-hmm. because they know people want it year round.
Yeah, it's coming back.
And it's coming back. It's almost pumpkin spice season for some people. And so you're gonna
once a year.
Yeah. So you can absolutely do something like that and supply that need across the year and buy all of the items. You buy them all out, you just ship them in, or stock them in your home if you want to do that. If you want to do that, manage the day to day. But that's the other choice too. It's like, do you want to do this like as a part-time business? You want to leap into it? I would say start part-time first, mm-hmm. and work it, and then see if you like it. I actually enjoyed it because one of the benefits was I got out and I walked every day. As a programmer, I'm always sitting down in front of a computer, which isn't healthy. Mm-hmm. But I was walking for a couple of hours every single day, and it was fun. I'm talking to the same staff. I'd see the people in the stores, and they'll help you out too. People start to know. Like it's kind of a known thing, mm-hmm. now that you see people like, okay.
Well, I've seen people doing it, yeah. And can the store stop you from? They know what you're doing, or I thought, when I first saw people doing it, I thought it was a competitor. Yeah. I thought it was a competitor coming over pricing. Do they say anything to you while you're there?
So it can go one of two ways now, and anywhere in between. So stores can outright just say, no, we won't sell you all these things. We won't allow you to buy all of the items from the mm-hmm. customer. Sometimes though, they'll already have limits. So there'll be limit 6 per customer. But usually when it's clearance, they just want to get rid of the stuff. They want the shelf space. Mm-hmm. So it goes the other direction where they're like, hey, they know, look, we've got XYZ. You can take all of this stuff out of our hands because we need to get new product on the floor.
Has a manager ever approached you and said, hey, look, dude, I got these
Harry
Potter dolls?
No, I've not had a manager actually give me this stuff, but I've gotten the nod. They know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. They'll look over and see, oh, okay, this is one of these, you're one of those guys. Yeah. It's okay, it's cool. Fill
so
up
it's not illegal?
No, I mean, you can't buy, I can't buy all the Coca-Cola I want to drink.
I just figure some people can find a reason, if they want to, but okay, just so you can feel comfortable.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen people who run little stores, traditional mm-hmm. brick and mortar stores, go in and buy a ton of stuff. Mm-hmm. People in front of me, I've seen just shopping carts full of sodas and chips and all these things, and they're just supplying their little convenience store. Mm-hmm. There's probably a better way to do that. I don't know.
Yeah,
but maybe
it is a better way.
But maybe the deals are the price at that time something was on sale. They go, oh, get it there.
Yeah.
So, but absolutely no. It's if they have a problem, they'll tell you. But it's not oh, we're gonna call the police. They just say no. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned. Also, is in this idea of stepping out of my comfort zone, both physically and into these new spaces, mm-hmm. is 99.9% of the time the worst thing anybody can ever tell you is no. No, you can't buy that. No, you can't get a visa to come travel here. No, I won't buy your product. That's it.
What does no mean?
It doesn't mean, you'll get over it.
I'm in sales. Yeah. I don't hear no. That just means they don't understand.
Yeah, but most people are the things that people are scared of is rejection. Rejection, yeah. And most people aren't trained in sales. I didn't come from a sales background, although I've tried it a few times. I tried to sell Kirby vacuum cleaners when I was in my 20s. But and that was that rejection that in your face, no, I don't want your $2,000 vacuum cleaner. Get off my porch.
I'm laughing because I tried that. I lasted one day. You come in, you throw the dirt on the floor.
Yes, exactly.
And then you have to vacuum it up. What if there's no electricity? Well, there's so many things. There's so many ways that could go left.
Yeah,
but you have to sell, though. Big in sales is not a bad thing. And marketing, like you said.
Yeah, it's about confidence in yourself. Because at the end of the day, the product that's really being sold is you. You're selling yourself. You do that every time you go to a job interview, try to convince somebody to hire you. You're saying like, hey, I am a good fit for your organization. Give me money to show up here Monday through Friday, you know? And that's a sales job. You put on your best clothes, you put the best information about yourself on those 2 sheets of paper if you have to fill out a resume, and you sell yourself. You tell your story. And that's all it is. You're always telling a story with your products, whether it's your website or your blog or your podcast or anything like that. It's all the story that you're telling. Better that you're actually connected to it and that you believe in it. You know, I know a lot of people like go to work every day and say, I don't believe in what we're doing here, but they pay me.
Yeah, they don't last long. Too.
Exactly.
Yeah. But quick question. So knowing what you know and having gone through what you've gone through in the past, let's say you were sitting at home and you had a day job and you wanted to escape or you wanted to try something like this. Using what you know right now, what would you pass on to someone else who was thinking about, you know what, I do want to travel, I do want to do something else. Maybe they just want to buy a bigger house or they want to buy a bigger car, they want to take care of their kids or send their kids through college. What's a good way to start? Knowing what you know right now, that they don't know, that they're not aware of, because heck, I'm not aware of 90% of what you're saying too. So that they're not aware of, how would you get started right now?
So the easiest thing, I think I gravitated towards the FBA thing because it was so easy. It didn't even cost anything for me to sign up on Amazon. Like I still don't have a pro sellers account, which is like $40 a month. I wasn't willing to commit $40 a month and see if this thing was going to work. So I just signed up for the free account, which means my fees are higher. So it cut into my profits. And then I just looked around the house for the stuff that I had. It just happened to coincide with the fact that I was already trying to sell stuff. And I was trying to do it with Facebook posts. Like I was like, oh, I got this wash and dryer I need to sell, and I got this other stuff I need to sell. And I was able to sell that stuff, but I had all these little things like, wait, how am I going to sell these books? How am I going to sell these little electronics that I have? They're still in boxes and stuff. So I sent all that stuff in, and I just went around the house and scanned. So you can go around the house right now. You can test out the app, just scanning the barcodes on things you have in your house right now, and just learn how this thing works. Just like you don't have to commit any money, you don't have to sign up for anything. Like just download the Amazon app and you get in there. And there's some other apps that are out there that'll do the same thing. They'll scan it and they'll tell you the price and the listing and all this stuff. So it's like, oh, okay. And you just open your mind, open your eyes to what's available, what's there. You're like, oh wait, a lot of these things in my house have value. You know, somebody sold them to you. Someone else still thinks they may have value.
And things you're probably not even using
Yeah,
anymore.
absolutely. You can. I mean, there's the market for used or pre-owned stuff is huge. You know, I mean, you can go out. I had a friend who used to do this a lot. He did it with electronics. He would buy a piece of electronics, a new set of headphones, a new phone. He'd use it for like about a month or two, and then he'd sell it. He'd sell it online. So it just became a thing where he was. That's how he offset the cost, and he made a little bit of money. You know, and that's the arbitrage. The arbitrage between like the depreciated cost and the new cost, and like how much he was able to. So he's just finding that, taking advantage of the gaps in between the buying price and the selling price. That's all you're doing. We're doing that here, of course, with arbitrage, geographic arbitrage, that we're taking advantage of here because the cost of living here in this beautiful country, the land of eternal spring, is so. It's you do that, and it's like so funny. It's like because you've done it so many times. It's just like man,
yes, man. Oh my God, life is good.
It's good. It really is.
So what brought you here to Medellin? Let me take another step back. What brought you here?
So it became known. This is definitely like a digital nomad or an expat hotspot. So it was on the radar, and I had not been. I also have a couple of friends from Colombia. They're Colombian, and they're like, "How you not been to my country?" Yeah. And so finally. Just came down, and that's actually how I explore now. That's how I got to Mexico too. I have friends that were there or had been and said, you really need to come and go. And so once you make that first step and you start to build the community is really important. Start to get out here, meet people. And this is another thing you can do before you leave home. Again, just like you were asking, something you can do without leaving your couch. You can go onto Facebook. Their Facebook groups are very, very valuable. And just enter, say for instance, expat and the name of the city you're interested in, digital nomads and the city you're interested in. And there'll be a bunch of groups. And you can get even more specific. Moms in this place, families in this place, black expats in this. So you can find your community almost anywhere in the world, and they're already talking about places to rent, places to shop, what it was like to get in, all of these types of things. Like you can start to get the 411 before you ever touch down. Wealth of information, where you can get your hair done, like you get your hair twisted or or cut.
We were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Who's got the best cut? I waited till I got here 3 weeks to get a cut because I got a spot here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely need a cut.
Yeah.
You're kind of shave.
Now, you have a podcast also, right?
I do. Actually, I started a podcast a couple of months ago called the Cocoa Nomad podcast, which is my sort of brand around traveling, which I've had for a long time. And the name comes from the fact that, one, I'm cocoa complected, like lovely cocoa. But the other is that I program on the Apple frameworks, which is the frameworks called Cocoa for both the phones and the Mac itself. So
Okay.
it's like I'm a Cocoa, and I move between platforms and I move between countries, so I'm nomadic in that.
Now, I had the question before. Can you spell that?
Cocoa, C-O-C-O-A, like the bean, the cocoa bean, the Cocoa Nomad. So it's definitely, you can drop that in the show links too.
Yeah.
But
That will be below in the description.
I just haven't really promoted it a bunch. Like the podcast just started. I do an episode a week, and I talk about a lot of these things. I talk about the lifestyle, talk about my own personal like ups and downs and things. I'm a firm believer. Like I don't have a lot of these photos on the beach with the laptop. You know, it's like first of all, you don't want sand on your laptop. I promise you, you don't. And it's working from the beach. Like I've worked from some beachside places, beach adjacent places.
Yeah.
But that land on the beach, it's not even comfortable. Like how are you gonna get any work done like this?
Yeah, I don't believe anybody's out in the
It's
sun.
not doing that. Yeah, and exactly.
Laptop, yeah.
I had a friend of mine yesterday in San Diego. He sent me some photos. He's like, man, I don't know how you do this with the glare. I was like, I don't do that. That's why I specifically tell people, go inside or somewhere with some shade. Get you some, get some shade where you can work. You know.
Exactly. On top of the Facebook, as far as a resource, and the Facebook groups, also YouTube. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, right behind Google, and it's one reason I'm here. From watching certain people, well, I can name them from Carlton's Travel Adventures to This is Ace Live or Ace Live, Sly's Life, How to Expat, Sam and Tasha. And that will give you resources for, it doesn't matter where you're going, really everything is on Facebook. On YouTube.
Yeah.
Everything is on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in YouTube University, basically, is what I call it. Like, because you can learn how to do anything. I actually had to fix a problem with the drum in my washing machine, and I just had a video playing of someone fixing it as I'm taking my washer apart and pulling the parts out. And I'm just like, okay, you can do pretty much anything.
Whenever I get stuck, I go to YouTube, and the keywords are what matter. Just type in what you're looking for. If it's how to, or if it's how much, you're probably going to be on Google.
Yeah.
But if it is how to, it's going to be on YouTube. So other than your podcast, what else do you have going on?
So I'm an app developer, so I have a couple of apps in the App Store. Like one of them is called Gobo, and it is a travel budgeting app. So I track all my spending in local currencies, know how much money and I have stats and charts, so I know exactly, like I'm a big proponent of, you can't manage what you don't measure.
It's up and running right now?
Yeah, it's been
Okay.
that's been in App Store for over a year. I'm working on an Android version that's coming.
Okay, so.
People, it's like, I know.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on now, and so I do that. I've also done, like I may have mentioned, I've done voiceover work as well, and in fact, the guy who got me into voiceover work was here. He actually trained me how to do it in Poblado. I went to his apartment in Poblado. We went up to the Parquilleras and filmed like a video ad for me, and then he showed me how to record from the road, like how I can build an in-home soundproof studio so I can do high quality ad reads, and it led to me getting like more ads working, and then a couple of audiobooks. Like I had some people who've written short stories and novellas, and like, hey, we'd like you to narrate this, and so I started doing that as well.
Okay, and you're on Fiverr.
On Fiverr,
Correct.
yeah.
If
So
you're
that
not
works
familiar
on
with Fiverr, Fiverr,
correct.
.com is where you can basically get work done for $5, but that's normally just an entry
Sure.
into, okay, then you go, there's a B level that's 15 and a C level, or however it's categorized.
Absolutely.
Are you still under the same name?
No, on Fiverr, I'm actually changing because I'm trying to reposition the work. So I'm doing a new one for Fiverr for the voice work only, and I also do development too. So as a software developer, like I'm not on Fiverr for that. I do Upwork, and then a lot of stuff is just networking. Like a lot of the work I get is through just like that network. But these are ways, I want to mention them because these are ways that you can start to build a client base if you are going to transition into working remotely and starting to get some work. What you're going to want to do on all of these though is you're going to want to build relationships that you can then move on, because you're not going to want to keep doing stuff for $5 or the low prices on Upwork.com. You're definitely going to want to move upscale. So once you start proving yourself in your profile, immediately just start. I've heard someone say, like, a good piece of advice, even if you're not even using these, just even as a freelancer in general, once you're established, you got a couple of clients, start raising your rates until you get pushback. Each new gig, raise your rates. Now, some people are really aggressive and say double it each time until you get pushback. But the idea is you keep raising each job until you get pushback, because you may be undervaluing the work that you're doing. And so you might be billing out like $25 an hour when people are willing to pay you 50.
Exactly.
And if they're willing to pay you 50, then see if someone's willing to give you 100, and then see, like, you know,
your work is worth what someone will pay for it.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is like all of these things I think help people understand business and understand that how the economics works. It's like there's a demand and there's a supply, and then there, even within the demand, there's segments, and those segments have special needs. And if you can meet those special needs of those segments, you're much more valuable, because everybody can't do everything, even within that sub niche. You get into that niche. They say the riches are in the niches. Is the saying. So like you want to specialize. You want to get into these special areas. So like for me, even with voiceover work, yeah, I would love to do animated work. I'd love to be like, you know, doing like Cree Summer and Keith David, like doing animated stuff. But I'm not there yet, right? So I specialize in just like technical and business type readings. Like you need a business ad read, you need a technical, because I have a technical background. I don't stumble over reading technical terms because I know those words. So it's like an area for me to specialize and say, hey, do you have a networking security company? You have a company that offers these services or these classes? I can read those ads for you and like give you what you need in that
We
space.
may need your help. Okay. How else can if anyone is interested in talking to you or getting a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
Hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram. You can start DMing from there, but also
Which will be below.
Email address as well, which we'll list there. You can just send me an email. I'm a pretty open person. I'm alondob@gmail.com. I mean, I'm a programmer. I filter all spam. I never see any
Okay.
garbage.
Well, you need to show me how to do that.
It's not hard. It's not hard.
For work. Let me ask you one more question
Sure,
before
sure,
you go.
sure.
I appreciate your time again, and I know you're getting ready to leave and you're getting ready to head out of town, but I saw you doing something at the table inside after we ate, and that was planning out your day. You had a planner, and I thought that was very interesting. That's something I can definitely incorporate into my life and my daily work. What exactly was the book? How you came about the book? How'd you hear about it? And how does it work for you?
So the book is called Make Time, and I'm drawing a blank on the author right now, but we can find it, put it in the description below. But it's a book about how to minimize distractions and this digital age. So it's like the idea is around a bunch of different techniques, and it's more like a cookbook, right? You use the things that work for you. They encourage you to try them. The ones that don't work for you, don't worry about it. And then you just use the techniques. So they give you a bunch of different techniques. Some are around minimizing the amount of email you get and minimizing distractions the workday. Some are about getting better sleep, better health, and having better energy during the day. And some are like this technique called the back burner that I use. And so it's on paper, but I transcribe and I move everything over to digital because I am a digital person. But there's value in writing. I get a lot of value in writing things down. So at the beginning of the day or the end of the previous day, I plan out my day, and I have two columns. And the first column is for what we call the main burner. So like the analogy is like if you're in the kitchen, you're making meals. You've got to cook all these different dishes on this one stove. So you've only got so many eyes. And that main dish, the big one, usually which is meat, if you're most cultures, is the main thing. So it might consume 2 eyes. You might have a big roaster or something on the top, but that's your main focus, and that's called the highlight. That's the thing you want to make sure that you get done that day. And then the other ones are the side dishes, the potatoes and the green beans and the cornbread and all these other things that you have in the second column. These are things that, like, if you want to, you hope you can get to them. Your day's not ruined. Right? You'd like to get them. If not, you move them on. They're not as high a priority. But the main thing is the most important action that you're getting done that day. That's on the front burner. Okay? And so I make a list. I put all these things on here. And now I've modified it for my own use. And what I do is I actually at the bottom, so I mark whether or not I did the highlight, yes or no. At the end of the day, I do a reflection. Did I get the highlight done? I have a note section so I can talk about little things like, did I talk to an old friend today? Did I call my mom or my granddad? Like, did something that really upset me? Did I get some bad news? So I can have an understanding of kind of what was going on that day. And then I track my mood, my energy, and my focus. And I want to know, like, how each day goes, like how much my energy, because I want to tie that back to whether I was eating, did I work out, did I walk, am I drinking enough water? All of these things, because you're a complex system, right? You got to make sure all the systems are running right. You got to make sure, because you can't get any work done if you're tired, you lack focus, and all of these things, or you just had an argument with somebody, you're really upset, and you haven't processed that. That's going to distract you because you're still thinking about what you should have said and what you could have said, and all these kinds of things like that. And so it's like, no. It's like, okay, I try to make sure that each day I start knowing where my day is going to go and then reflecting on how that day was. And that's kind of carried me forward. And I'm turning that into an app, by the way. So just mentioning that.
What doesn't this brother do right here? 3 passports,
I don't whistle.
traveling the world.
It's the only thing I can't do. Literally, I'm not kidding. It's the only thing in the world I can't do is whistle.
Excellent. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, man. Really, on the day before you're leaving, check out the information below. All of his contact information will be below. If you need to get in touch with him, if you want to learn something, because I'll be in touch with him and see if we can't work together in some form or fashion. I'll definitely learn something from him, and I definitely learned something today. So I appreciate your time.
I appreciate it too, man. Thanks a lot.
Again.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
We have a YouTube channel. Like it. Please subscribe and kick the bell.